Is that? Yay! We getting it, boy.
What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay.
Your baller back again. Smells like football season.
Yo.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Straight Out of the Bay. Woo! What a Monday night football game we got. Good news for the 49ers. Let's kick it around to the fellas, see how they're feeling today. Jay, how you feeling?
What's good? Hey, it's always a pleasure. It's an honor to be with you gentlemen tonight. Hopefully Amin can come through as well. But hey, the Seahawks did us a favor tonight. Hey, and it's a victory Monday, man. What could be better?
Kelch, how
Man,
you
I ain't
feeling?
I ain't gonna lie, man. My adrenaline gets to pumping even when I'm watching another team, man. I love football, so my adrenaline's pumping. It was cool to see Drew Lock do what he did, and what a freaking catch by Njigba. Man, that was hella cool to see. It looks like we just like broke the Eagles. That's all I could think of. Like we put them back into training camp. We came through like it was training day on them, and yeah, man, hey, we're rolling. The 49ers, man, we ain't playing no games. We did training camp in August. So, it's just a lovely sight right now.
You ain't kidding. Eagles have now dropped 3 in a row. Niners started that losing streak. Fired a defensive coordinator or, swap position. So Eagles, there's some turmoil there. And the Niners are now a game up on the Eagles, Cowboys, and Lions. So this is absolutely huge because, as we've talked about, getting this number 1 seed, this bye, home field advantage, it's so pivotal. And right now, Niners are in a good spot where even if they lose a game, they're still looking at the number 1 seed, from what I understand. Are you guys hearing the same thing? Niners hold the tiebreaker on the 3 other teams with 4 losses?
That should be the case because we've got the better overall record. We've beaten Philly. We've beaten Dallas. We just haven't beaten Detroit, but I believe we should have the tiebreaker. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the tiebreaker. I'm almost positive versus everybody. So yeah, man, all signs are pointing freaking up, man. Hey, what a turnaround from that 3-game skid. You know what I'm saying? It's like survival of the fittest, man. Every team goes through skids, So
No doubt.
I still want us to win out, but that AFC game versus the Ravens doesn't seem as we gotta win this game, but especially against the NFC opponents, we definitely need to continue to win out. But I still think we got to keep our foot on the pedal. That's for sure. Definitely got to still come with the same energy, same passion for sure.
Without a doubt, man, we gotta, for sure.
What it might mean is maybe that week 18 game, that last week against the Rams, where if you've already kind of sealed it up, do you rest somebody? But then again, I don't think you want too much rest, right? You would already have the bye week. And so, hey, that would be a good problem to have if it comes down to it. But fellas,
I would rest CMC. Hey, you ain't playing. I would rest CMC for sure.
That's good. That's good.
Hey, I said it how long? I can't remember how long ago it was. Maybe week 3 or 4, where I was like, man, CMC, he knows what kind of year this is. He wants the legacy. He wants it to be etched in stone. Like, I did this that year. It reminds me of 1994. You go back through that season and it's just like, who was those main dudes? Because 20 years from now, they're going to be like, oh, man, CMC. So yeah, I don't think no one's getting CMC off the field, man. But at the same time, definitely, like, why risk it? But
why risk it?
I'm glad you kind of brought up the Rams game, because to be honest, that's the only game that I feel like is going to be I feel like that's going to be our toughest game on the schedule.
Washington won't be easy. Washington won't be easy. They always play as tough. Like, I feel like Washington, it ain't gonna be no walk in the park. I don't think so.
Sam Howell's throwing 3 picks. Howell's gonna be
now.
Howell's
If he throw 3 picks, then yeah, but
he's gonna be over there howling at a moon, you know, because man, but
he ain't
just
afraid to air it out.
personally, I just feel like, hey, the Rams, they ain't done yet. They're not done, and you know that we always play tough. I can't, you know, it feels like that. I don't know. To me, that's just the biggest game where I feel like it's going to give us the most trouble. I feel like the score is going to be the closest. Not taking nothing away from the Ravens. Hey, they're great in their own way, but I just feel like right now, and we're clicking on all cylinders, and it's going to be that last game that's going to just, you know, division opponent. We both know each other. That's just how I see it, but I'm wrong. There are a lot of times where I am wrong, so, you know.
Hey, Niners are in control. You know, they control their own destiny. But, hey, fellas, let's say what's up to the chat because the chat is popping. Daniel Berry Sports, thanks for stopping by. True Blue said, we got a game in hand. That's right. Niners game up. Blue True.
What's good?
Thanks for stopping by. No doubt. No doubt. Well, hey, fellas, Niners defeated the Cardinals yesterday, and I want to hear some of your thoughts around that. You know, the Cardinals started out, it was a touchdown drive that they had, and it was like they didn't even have to convert a third down, right? Niners answered, and it felt like shortly after that, the Niners kind of took control of that game. But let's kick it around. I want to hear some of your general thoughts of just how you thought this game went. Why don't we start out with Kelps?
Man, I was hopping back and forth, man. I'm fully into all the hype, man, all of it. The MVP thing, I know it's, you know, it's Super Bowl, and that's only, you know, a lot of folks is Super Bowl. I don't care about nothing else. I'm different. You know, I was over here caring about Drew Lock. My adrenaline was pumping watching that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm over here flipping to Dak Prescott. Oh yeah, he sucks. Watching Purdy throw another touchdown. That's what's up. Let's keep this thing rolling. So it's just, you know, I get all into it, man. General thoughts. It feels like it's always the Rams and the Cardinals who are going to give us, for right now, the toughest fight. I mean, every divisional opponent, right? But, you know, the Cardinals, they always show up, man, whether it's Josh Dobbs, Colt McCoy, Kyler Murray, they're always going to go hard. So it wasn't surprising. And, but man, it feels repetitive just thinking about Brock Purdy and just everything he's doing on the field, just surgical. You know, I feel like he is the best quarterback when it comes to in the system, and not just in the pocket, but just he's just surgical and calm. I feel like there's a lot of other quarterbacks. Most quarterbacks won't go past the second read and they're gone, or they're trying to improvise. And I feel like Brock Purdy stays, you know, and someone said something along the lines like, well, those other quarterbacks have to do that. I see time and time again where Purdy will stand tough in the pocket and he knows the dude is coming, and he knows exactly how much time he got, and he doesn't bolt out, and he'll take the lick, but he'll make the strike. And you know, sometimes I don't like that, but at the same time, he's doing it over and over again. There was one instance in the game where there was a free rusher. We had 5 blockers. They had 4 rushers. I didn't like that. It's always right where he's throwing too, so it's reminiscent when he tore his UCL. So
was that
always
makes Kittle?
Me. I believe, yep, it was. And I watched that play over and over and over, trying to think like, at some point in time, I don't care about the formation, what the design, you know, what the offensive line's jobs are. You guys know me. Hey, audible, communicate. Hey, man, you can't have 5 blockers and 4 rushers, no matter how they disguise it, and someone's just free to Purdy. That, to me, like if I'm a defensive line coach, that's inexcusable. Like no matter what, like you just gotta, you know, communicate, you know, or whatever it is, that's got to be sharpened up. You cannot have a free rusher when you have a extra blocker. You know what I'm saying? That's just, to me, that's a blown assignment, regardless of the disguise. So that was one thing. But hey, man, Debo. Another thing, Debo, man, Debo, he did his little nonchalant touchdown. I thought that was hella cool because we've been hearing the echoes of his effort and this and that. So it's cool to see a weakness turn into a strength. You know what I'm saying? That's Kyle Shanahan right there. Kyle Shanahan's like, okay, I'm going to get these questions about effort, huh? Watch this one. It reminds me of a basketball player doing a little hezzy. Okay, I'm going to walk it up nonchalantly. Soon as dude strikes to get it, you bolt, you turn on the gas and okey doke him. So that was cool by Debo. Um, CMC, of course. Man, I feel like Brock Purdy and CMC could be co-MVPs. There's two other times in NFL history where it happened. Barry Sanders, Brett Favre in, I think, 97. Peyton Manning, rest in peace, Steve McNair in 2004. It's never been done on the same team. But what a perfect year and a magical story. We got the story. We got the swag. We got everything with the 49ers right now. We got the class. We got the violence. Why not do something in NFL history? I think they're both worthy. It feels like it's turning in. The argument is CMC and Purdy. Lamar, some people could throw in Lamar. You could try to throw in Brock. Anything could happen these last 3 games. But if it were to end today, I would want them to be co-MVPs. They're both already calling each other MVPs. It feels like it's setting up that way, fellas. And that would be just the dopest thing ever to watch them both get it.
I agree with you. That would be awesome. And they are both deserving of the MVP. So I like that idea. Co-MVP. Jay, what do you think about a co-MVP?
That would be incredible. I don't think it's ever happened with two guys on the same squad. But that would be incredible. Both guys are well deserving, but I think history shows the MVP is basically like the best quarterback. Most of the time, like 99% of the time, the quarterback wins it. I think that's funny. I was having an argument with my uncle and cousin, and they feel one's a Titans fan, one's a Raiders fan. So you know what they think. They think Purdy he's only good because of the weapons on the field and the coaching, whatever. That they don't respect Purdy, but I do think Purdy's having a magical season, and it's incredible to watch. Like I told them, I'm in awe of watching Purdy every game. It's not a fluke. It's not a blip. This is a trend. You need to catch on the train before it leaves you, man. Purdy is legit. And but in regards to the game, man, this is a divisional game, fellas. Divisional games are different. I know we've had the Cardinals number the last 4 times. Like we've beaten them pretty easily the last 4 times. We won by double-digit figures the last 4 times we played. But Kyler Murray's he's always going to be a problem. Trey McBride, who is that? Like he played very well against us. He's having a pretty good year. I think they said on the broadcast he set the Cardinals record for most catches in a season by a tight end. So hey, wow. Trey McBride, he could be a problem now and in the future for the Cardinals. James Conner, that's a grown-ass man right there. James Conner, hey, much respect to him. He's a very, very good player, very talented, and he always brings it whenever he plays. So what else that stood out to me? There were only 7 third downs that the 49ers offense had to try to convert, and they converted 4 out of 7. So when you do that, your offense is pretty much rolling, right? The chunk plays, I talked about it last week. The chunk plays continue for this offense, 7.5 yards per play. So they're obviously moving the ball down the field. I mean, the Cardinals defense, they made a lot of mistakes and we capitalized on it. So I'm not, Debo was wide open on one, CMC was wide open on another. Guys were.
Can we shout out Kyle Shanahan for scheming?
Yeah, that's the scheme.
Wide open, right? Because Niners lead the league in motion, but that Debo touchdown, it's like that's why you're motioning guys, because it made the defense hesitate. They didn't rotate. Next thing you know, Debo's wide open in the end zone. I mean, that's kudos to Shanahan.
Beautiful.
It's kudos to Shanahan for taking advantage of this young defense. I know Budda Baker's there in the secondary, but everyone else is pretty much second, third year rookie guy. So there's no doubt the Niners and Shanahan in the chess match, they definitely took advantage of some of the Cardinals' inefficiencies. But Also, this game reminded me of when the Warriors, when they had their heyday with KD, the first half it'd be close, right? Then in the third quarter, the Warriors go on a 40-15 run. That's what it looked like to me. The Niners put them away in the second half, 24 points, and we just proved we were the better team. Another thing that happened, I sent a message in our group chat to E. I was like, E, hey man, Shanahan called a timeout right before the first half, right? And Shanahan was being aggressive. It almost came back to bite us, though.
Fumble.
Fumble. Hey, I don't know. I saw the replay. I heard the ref's explanation, but that to me looked like a fumble. So it was the forearm that went down, but it didn't look like he was touched. To me,
yeah, but it was the contact that caused him to go down. So that's the way they looked at it.
We got lucky. I would say that we definitely got lucky because it looked really close. But
real quick,
Shanahan was aggressive. Yeah.
Hey, I was thinking of that the whole time. The whole time we seen that whole thing, I was thinking, I'm always thinking of conversations that we had. We were talking about the miscue the game before, not taking advantage of it. Rightfully so. You got to practice. Purdy, regardless of how amazing Purdy looks, you got to practice those moments because those moments more times are going to probably happen in the playoffs when the competition tightens up, unless we just do like the 94 Niners and just mollywop everybody. I know Dallas was a little tough, but, it was good to see that happen. And hey, man, they almost, you need to practice those moments. That's just, what it is. So, that was
absolutely
good to see.
Hey, one other thing I noticed, Mitch Wishnowsky only punted twice. We only had one penalty for 5 yards. So, I mean, it was a
first play of the game.
Day. Yeah. I mean, the Cards offense, they were able to move the ball, but I'm not expecting this defense to clamp down an offense the entire game. I mean, there's talent all across the NFL. Guys are going to make plays. So that didn't really bother me too much. We did give up some big runs, but we are without our 2 starting defensive tackles. I mean, you got to, you have to add that in there. It's not an excuse, but it's reality. And then we forced 2 turnovers. Mooney Ward. I mean, that was incredible to see. So, yeah, it was a great game to watch. That's for sure.
No doubt. I feel like the defense did just enough, right? We know the Cardinals were able to run the ball extremely effectively. They averaged 7.8 yards per carry, but it was like the Niners defense did enough. You talked about the turnovers. The defense did force a couple 3-and-outs, held the Cardinals to a couple field goals, right? Anytime you're holding a team to 3 as opposed to giving up 7, like that's huge. So it's the defense wall. There were too many missed tackles, and that being said, the defense, they did just enough offensively. I mean, we got a whole segment coming up dedicated to Bot Purdy, but the offense was really good. Shanahan was scheming it up, scheming guys open. McCaffrey was awesome. So from there, why don't we jump right into the offensive standouts? And I'll start off with an easy one, but I want to talk about Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey, 115 yards on the ground, led the team in catches with 5, 72 yards. McCaffrey was awesome. And you guys noticed on his Texas route where he caught the touchdown down in the red zone, I was watching Brock's eyes. Brock started looking to the right. And we were talking about how Brock's so good at going through his progressions. You could just see his eyes go like right, middle, back to McCaffrey on the Texas route, boom, touchdown. And it's just McCaffrey's such a nice safety blanket to have because it's like he can go through his reads. He can check out Debo, look at Kittle. If those 2 are covered up, boom, you go right to McCaffrey because usually he's open. And when he gets the rock, he's typically makes the first guy miss. McCaffrey was awesome, but he's not as awesome as this next guest we got coming on here because we got a legend here. Let's see if I can get him on. There he is. Amin the Dream. What's poppin', Amin?
What's up, y'all?
Yeah.
Nice to have you. Nice to have you. We're just kind of breaking down our thoughts of this Niners-Cardinals game, going with some offensive standouts. I took an easy one in Christian McCaffrey. But Amin, you got any general thoughts about the game? And then why don't you hit us with an offensive standout?
I mean, Niners took care of business. It was a little bit close, I feel like, in the first quarter being in the second quarter. But overall, Niners took care of business. Offensive standout, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. I mean, it's a safe – it's like, you said Christian McCaffrey. You could say Deebo Samuel. But Brock Purdy, man, like – Brock Purdy honestly reminds me of Drew Brees. And, there's comparisons going out on Twitter and things like that. But he really does remind me of Drew Brees. He's not the biggest guy, but he's so efficient, makes right decisions, is extremely accurate. Brock Purdy should win MVP if he continues to play at this level. If the Niners beat the Ravens and he continues to play at this level that he's playing at, he should win MVP. He should win MVP. You could have Christian McCaffrey potentially winning Offensive Player of the Year. This Niners team is so special. And, Dre Greenlaw said it himself, right? We won these NFC West shirts before. We got these NFC, we've won the West before. We've been the 1 seed before. But we want that Super Bowl. This team is really capable enough of winning a Super Bowl. And this honestly could be the year. You have a quarterback who, even when the defense struggled at times in the first half a little bit, the offense made up for it, and they scored touchdowns. They were having touchdowns drive. They were doing their things. So, this offense is great. And even when this defense does struggle at times or isn't at its best, you have Brock Purdy in this offense who can step up to the plate, and they usually, most of the time step up. So, this team is special. I think the stat that I saw on Twitter today, this 2023 Niners team has 50 touchdowns and only 45 punts. You have more touchdowns than you have punts.
Wow.
God.
This Niners team.
How often do we see Moody? It took Sam Darnold to come on the field for us to finally see Moody kick a field goal. Thank you, Jesus. The days are gone where it's how did we miss that open receiver? Why are we kicking all these field goals? Why can't we score more than 17, 23 points? Bro, it was stressful even during the wins. And sometimes people's arguments are, well, Jimmy was a winner and these other quarterbacks didn't know. This is a whole, because some people who lightly look at it, well, the Niners were 11-3 2 years ago. No, it's a different level. I'm so happy after the 3-game skid, because I told you before that 3-game skid, dude, this is the year. Get excited. And I know it's unfinished business. We ain't there yet. But stay excited, man. Stay excited. I freaking love it. I can, you can feel the vibe, man. I can see it in all of us. I could just see it, feel it. It's a lovely thing, man. What's up, Amin?
Hey, this year's Niners team could beat that team that was 11-3 a couple of years back with Jimmy Garoppolo. This team would run circles around that team, hands down. You see Jimmy missing guys wide open. Even Brock Purdy, when he has some of those incompletions, he's hitting Brandon Ayuk. And Brandon Ayuk is just dropping some of them. And I'm like, BA, you got to come down with some of them. He hit BA down the sideline. It was kind of a little bit behind BA, but I feel like BA could have caught that and then he drops it. I'm like, man, at least Brock Purdy's seeing it and he's willing to take the throw. And for the most part, he's giving his receivers to make a play on the ball. Jimmy would literally I still remember this play in my head to this day. Kyle Juszczyk is down the sideline wide open, and Jimmy just throw rainbows it outside, literally out of bounds. And I'm like, Jimmy.
Versus Titans, huh? Yeah.
You had a dude wide open. Barry Abala could have made that. Zach Wilson could have made that pass. You out here sailing it over the dude's head.
No doubt.
Zach
and
Wilson.
I got a Jimmy. We all got Jimmy throws that stick out in our mind, the throws he should have made. And Brock, he makes it look easy. He hits the open receivers, which Niners fans, we don't take for granted, because we remember the years where receivers are running open and our quarterback is missing them. We played the Cardinals in 2020, first game of the year, and the Niners lost that game because Jimmy Garoppolo missed a Kendrick Bourne that was wide open in the corner of the end zone. He routed up Pat Pete, and Jimmy, he hesitates. Guys, it's not a problem we have to deal with anymore.
No more pick eight.
I told the fellas, we got a whole segment dedicated to Bot Purdy coming up, so save your good Bot Purdy takes. You got another standout that you want to mention before we kick it over to Jay?
Nah, pretty much it. You guys probably said the obvious ones in Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. So
let's hear.
Yeah,
okay. The O-line. You got to give props to the O-line. Like the O-line, and that's the funny thing is like this offensive line coming into every season. You're like, oh, what about the right guard? And what about the right tackle position? Is it going to be Burford? Is Burford that? Is he or Feliciano? And like we always have questions about the offensive line coming into the season. And like now, one thing that I've learned as a Niners fan is that like, dude, we gotta like let Kyle and John do their thing because they in the building. They know those guys. Because every year this happens. Every year we always look at that offensive line and we're like, we trust Trent and Banks and we're cool with the left side. But in that right side, you're like, I don't know. And for the most part, like the games that even I thought they would struggle a little bit, they were great. Like they held up against the Eagles. And even though the Eagles pass rush isn't as good as they were last year, the Eagles pass rush still has some dogs. I mean, they were great against Arizona. This offensive line is like for the last couple of games, they've been pretty damn good. So credit to the offensive line. Credit to guys like John Feliciano who have stepped up in Burford's absence. But the offensive line, I mean, if you could play like this for the rest of the season, you have a pretty damn good shot at winning the Super Bowl this year.
That was very astute. I mean, because I'm glad you shouted out the O-line because I thought those dudes did a really good job blocking yesterday, not only in the run game, but also in pass protection. There's a couple plays. You're not going to get a flawless effort from the O-line. A couple times some defenders got through. And actually, I thought Brock handled it well and still made some plays in spite of maybe some pressure. So good on you for shouting out the O-line. Really, the Niners blocking as a whole is just awesome because I don't know if you guys seen the clip of like George Pickens going around where he's just completely disinterested in run blocking. He has just letting defenders go, and it's like the Niners would not allow that. The culture wouldn't allow it. This team holds each other accountable. How many times have we heard these guys talk about in the press conferences playing without the ball? It's like most players are saying, hey, give me the ball more. I need the ball more. And our guys are saying, what can I do to help this team when I don't get the ball? Like, that's different. That's special. And it's awesome. Jay, standouts.
Hey, speaking of the offensive line, since we're talking about the big uglies, the guys in the trenches, Trent Williams, according to PFF, had 27 pass blocking slaps and 0 sacks allowed, 0 pressures allowed. So that's incredible. I know when Trent Williams plays well, we all expect him to. There's no surprise, but I just wanted to shout him out. Excellent performance against the Cardinals. And John in the chat said that John Feliciano had the highest PFF grade. So he's currently in for Spencer Burford, who's been out the last 2 games with the knee injury. It'll be interesting to see if Spencer can get back his starting job. I think it seems like we haven't had the penalties. That's one thing. Unfortunately, that's one knock on Spencer is he does get at least like 1 or 2 penalties a game, and we haven't really seen that from Feliciano. So maybe he should keep his starting job, until maybe he messes up. But he's been playing pretty well.
That's Feliciano's job, Jay.
I might as well piggyback. I might as well piggyback on Feliciano. I seen somewhere, so I'm not going to maybe say it perfectly, but I don't think he's given up a sack. I think he's had 300 and something snaps. Hasn't given up a snack. Man, I'm hungry. But he hasn't given up a sack. And yeah, man, there was other context within what I seen, but it slipped my mind. But it just, you see the PFF, even though I don't like PFF, but if you're not giving up a sack in 300 and whatever snaps, hey, you're doing your dang job. If I've seen that correctly, but big props, man. I'm one of the more delusional or optimistic people in the beginning of the year where I'm like, look, man, hey, if Kyle and John are cool with it, I think what I said too before the season started was I wouldn't be surprised if McKivitz plays better than McGlinchey. It wouldn't surprise me, even if it's just a tiny bit better. You get McKivitz, not making 10 to 15, how many ever million that McGlinchey's getting, and you could get a little bump of an upgrade. Man, let's get it. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? That's other assets you're pouring into the rest of the team. You get a Feliciano when Burford's struggling. You still want to see what Burford could do. You got a vet waiting in the wings, and he's He's a big boy, you know, he's that wily vet, and you could just see it on him. He's not making those mistakes. Like, Jay said, the penalties, man, we didn't have too many, I don't believe. I barely remember any
We only had
penalties.
one yesterday. Only one yesterday. So that's
And that's
incredible.
why I can't remember it. So real talk, incredible. Um, you know, there's not a whole lot of other guys. I mean, Kittle's a guy who we could point out. He met it. As a matter of fact, he did drop a few balls, which was frustrating me, but he came back and made a few nice catches. Um, Darnold, you know, he come in, you know, slinging the rock around, you know, maybe put a
Man,
little heat
Kyle
on
didn't
some
even
of us.
hesitate. I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
nah.
okay,
Hey, I like
Darnold's
that
in,
though.
you know, hand the ball off, give it to McCaffrey a couple times. No, let's
He
see
came
what you
out
got,
firing.
Sam.
Come on, Sammy Young. Come on, Sam Young. Yeah, but man, you know, whenever you get to see Braden Willis come into the game, because every time I see that, I'm like, oh shit, baller. There he is. But Braden, you know, he got to come in at the end, and we've talked about it time and time again. Like I can still remember being a little kid and seeing it, man, just Rice and Young with the hat on the sidelines, like the Warriors, you know, back in the day with Kevin Durant, just sitting on the bench in the fourth quarter. And you know, we're not seeing it, and we're seeing it. We've seen it, maybe 5 games this year where Sam Darnold comes in, and here come all the backups. So it's just an all around, man. It's all around. It's a mentality. This team is classy and violent and efficient, intelligent, and reckless. It's like they're everything, bro. They're every spectrum of what you could want. And but then they're all hella different, but they're all fully connected. That's just a team, man. Like I'm getting the chills even saying it. When you get a team fully connected like that, everybody got the same vocab, the same mouthpiece, everybody, and then you go on the field and you all are demonstrating that, you know, with your actions and the words. It's a beautiful thing, man. I'm not taking it for granted because stuff switches fast in the NFL. You know, basketball, I feel like you could kind of, you know, maybe have a longer stretch. You know, it's not as grueling. You know what I'm saying?
If you got your, you know, 2 or 3 stars, you're going to be
Yeah.
in the mix for a decade.
Football feels like it switches fast nowadays. So I'm definitely enjoying every moment and just hoping we get number 6 at the same time, man.
No
So my
doubt. I gotta
standout is
say,
the whole offense, man. All the blockers, everybody who went downfield blocking for CMC, just all the little stuff that we don't see, like the one penalty, like all those things, bro. Because that's what helps that 45 points. And I did get a little wild last week and say 49. That disappointed me. They only got 45. It was Sam Darnold's fault. He could only muster up a field goal. Damn it, Jordan Mason. We've been waiting all year to see you. I'm just kidding. But hey, man, we got a season high. We got 45. We're rolling, baby.
no doubt. I want to say shout out to my boy Lule. He said, Price, does the win over the Ravens mean Purdy is an MVP lock? Lule, what I've been saying is whatever quarterback won the NFC, like whoever came out and got that number 1 seed at the end of the season, that's who I thought was going to win the MVP. And the way it's looking, I have a feeling it's going to be these Niners and Brock Purdy. So with that thought process, Brock Purdy is going to be the MVP. As long as the Niners close this thing out strong, like I think they will, they get this 1 seed. Brock is the MVP. Any other offensive standouts anyone wanted to shout out? Well, you know what? I wanted to talk about Debo before I kick it back to you guys, because I'm seeing an evolution of Debo Samuel, and I've kind of been asking for it for the last couple of years. We know how good Debo is around the line of scrimmage. Like, we know how good he is when Debo gets the ball in his hands. I've been saying I think Debo can do more. You know, he can win down the field, and we're starting to see that, fellas. Last week, he runs by Jamal Adams. Yesterday, it's a back shoulder fade, and you can see this is exactly what I'm talking about. He's a bully. He's a bully when he has the ball, but he's also a bully down the field. Like on that back shoulder fade, like the DB, the corner is right there. But Debo, it's not offensive PI, but he's just strong, and he just kind of just nudges him a little bit, and the DB falls down, and next thing you know, it's a touchdown catch. Debo, he's tough. He's so good with the ball, and I like to see him kind of expanding his route tree. Brock trusting him down the field because it's an element we haven't seen a ton of from him, and I've been wanting to see it. I feel like he has it in his bag. So, are you guys picking up on that? Does it seem like Debo's been being utilized a little differently down the field? And I think it has a lot to do with 13, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Purdy effect.
Yeah, it's the Purdy effect. And I think he's always had that in his game. When he was in South Carolina, man, he's always had that. But it's Purdy mixed with, it feels like Kyle Shanahan always had to use him a certain way, and now he doesn't. And I feel like there's some stuff being held back too. Kyle, it feels like he shows something new every week, but he ain't going to show it all. And hey, he's a father, man. He's a father now, and kids will change you. It feels like Debo is definitely maturing just all the way around, physically, spiritually, mentally, and you can see it pouring out, man.
I mean,
I got to talk about.
Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I got to talk about CMC for a second. Like, he's having, an all-pro caliber year. He's just incredible to watch. Like, defenders can't guard him when he's running those Texas routes or when he's running those passing patterns. Defenders can't guard him. Just to see him, even when there's not a hole, he's able just to maneuver his body, get cuts. He's got the vision, and he makes something out of nothing. So I just want to say it's a joy to watch CMC. Had a hell of a game yesterday. I think he had almost like 160, 170 total yards from scrimmage. What, he had 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. So it's just a pleasure to watch CMC, and I still feel like that's one of the greatest trades in 49er history. I think it's the greatest trade in Lynch's tenure, I think, to get CMC. He's definitely paying off. So it's just a joy to watch him every game.
Hey, Jay, you're not supposed to pay running backs, though, right? That's the new philosophy. No, McCaffrey is different. Like, he's a different breed.
Hey, just real quick, do you think this is what Reggie Bush was supposed to be in the NFL? Like, I think this is what they envisioned for Reggie. He can run the ball between the tackles. He can catch. Reggie still had a solid career. Like, he had a pretty good year. I think he played more than 10 years in the NFL, so it was good, but
he was on the Niners at one point.
He didn't have and he played for the Niners. Yeah, he didn't have the highs though. I think that CMC is having. So
just wasn't consistent. Wasn't CMC is like, not, I don't want to say smaller, but he just has the feel and the mentality of just that bell cow. Like, it feels like he could get stronger as his career kind of goes. Like, people are always just so worried of injuries and this and that, and it can happen to anybody. But it just, with a guy like him, like CMC, like you see guys like Stephen Curry or Tom Brady, there's certain guys who could just keep going and going and going. I know it's harder for running backs, and then you see other guys hit their peak at 34 and they're pretty much out or whatever. But then there's other guys who could just keep going because they are relentless off the field. Like they want it bad. They want, man. So it's a CMC. He's one of a kind. I agree with you, Jay. Up to this point, it feels like that's like the Kevin Durant, kind of like how the Warriors, but the Warriors had it's off the hook, man. Amazing. And, with Purdy being as cheap as he is, we're able to, because there's still a salary cap. It almost feels like the 49ers are cheating or something, but it's like everybody's on the same playing field. Kyle Shanahan just, we got lucky. Plus, that there was a lot of talk about why would you invest in all these weapons and, pay certain positions and all this and that. But, hey, it's working, and it's working better than anybody else in the NFL. CMC.
Facts. Well, I think we touched on the offensive ball well there. So why don't we flip it to the defense? I'm gonna kick it to Amin. There's a pretty obvious one out there who is spectacular, kind of queued up for you. But who are the defensive standouts you saw from yesterday, Amin?
I'm gonna go with Nick Bosa. And I'm not even talking about just yesterday, but in terms of in the entire season. And we were harsh on Nick Bosa early on in the season. We're like, dude, Max Crosby doing his thing, Myles Garrett's doing his thing, TJ Watt doing his thing. And then we feel to like really think like he didn't have the training camp. He didn't really have all of that to get his body ready. And yet he's still second in the league in pressures. And he has double-digit sacks already. Imagine if he had that training camp like Nick Bosa I would say confidently would probably be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year if he had a training camp. But for what he's doing on the field, I mean, Nick Bosa has been great for the 49ers, considering that he didn't have a training camp, 10.5 sacks, second in the league in pressures. Nick Bosa is him. He's just that guy coming off a torn ACL. And another guy I want to give a little bit of credit to is not necessarily that he had the greatest game yesterday, but Jair Brown. Like, usually when you have that backup, it's a step down, especially from an all-pro and Pro Bowler type guy like Talanoa Hufanga. And when you go to a backup, it's like, all right, hopefully he's serviceable. Hopefully he doesn't make too many mistakes. Hopefully he's playable out there. But Jair Brown has been great for the 49ers so far. And once Talanoa Hufanga comes back next year, like, Talanoa Hufanga, Jair Brown side by side, like, that's going to be a great safety duo. We're going to have a linebacker duo in Greenlaw and Fred Warner, and then we're going to have the safety duo with Jair Brown and Talanoa Hufanga, because Jair Brown is a baller.
Yeah, Jair Brown's been playing some good ball. I don't think yesterday was his best game, from the few starts he's had. But not saying he was bad. But I thought like on DeMarcado's long run, you could see Jair Brown kind of hesitate just for like a split second. I think he thought that the running back was kind of bottled up already, and he wasn't the only one. A couple of guys kind of slowed up, thinking that Niners had the running back corralled, and then he snuck out and kind of was off to the races. But you're absolutely right. Jair Brown's filled in admirably. Kelts, you got any standouts on the defensive side of the ball?
Man, I gotta take the obvious one. I always try to stay away from it, but I mean that man Mooney Ward was freaking. I mean that man shot like a cannon, bro. It's like, damn. I was like, man, I thought Mooney was lightweight, slow. Like that man didn't look slow when that ball got in his hands. And is that our first defensive touchdown of the year? I believe that could have been at least our first pick six, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because it feels like we always get a couple a year. And that when it happened, I was like, oh, that's finally, we got it in the end zone. Been seeing Warner pick the ball off quite a few times. You could see when they do pick it off, they want to get there. And I feel like we haven't every single time. And for the entire defense, for that to happen, that was hella cool. I mean, this shows how united the team is. I think it was Debo who threw his helmet on and went down there to celebrate with the defense. I don't know if y'all ever seen that before. I haven't seen that, where the offensive player throws the helmet to make sure to not get flagged. I mean, hey, you go watch the replays. He looked like he was a part of the defense for a minute. I was like, just the joy in the whole team. When you see Debo showed a gang of effort on that, so if people want to like kind of question the effort of Debo because maybe he thinks he got paid, or if they're looking at the effort in a bad way, hey man, he wouldn't be running down there celebrating with the defense like that if he was, some kind of dude with his pinky in the air or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So that was hella dope. Mooney, he got freaking 2, right? He got 2, right? I believe he did. Yeah, no. Mooney got 2. So I mean, that was just hella cool. Did Fred get one in this one too? No, Fred didn't get one. That might have been the game before, but yeah, man, Mooney, man, it's got to be him. Lenore, hey, he got hit with the little rib thing, but just our secondary as a whole, man, it feels like, quarterbacks, even when they got time, it's like they don't got time. Like it feels like we're bottling folks up, and it's just, it's cool, man. We're just. Hey, man, we're clicking. We are clicking. And I know the run game, but I'll save that for a step your game up.
Yeah. Jay.
Hey, yeah, you are absolutely right, Kelts. We only have 1 touchdown returned on defense, but we also are tied first for the most takeaways in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars with 25 on the year. So,
whoa,
that's huge. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember the last time. I would have to look it up. The last time the Niners had 20 or more turnovers in a season, because in previous years under Shanahan, we didn't get that many turnovers. There
No.
weren't that many there were none.
The safeties,
Right.
It's like
were
everybody's
allergic to
got 2.
interceptions.
Right.
It's almost
right,
like
yeah.
everybody's got. I know Fred's got 4. Mooney probably got 3. I
He's
know
got at
Lenore
least
probably got
4.
2.
Yeah.
It's almost
They're
like
coming in
everybody got
bunches.
2.
They're coming in
Yeah,
bunches,
baby.
just like the offense going down the field. Man, the turnovers are coming in bunches. It's a beautiful thing to see. One guy who stood out for me, there were a few, but I like what I see from Chase Young. You know, I don't know if he's a Nick Bosa type guy as far as the money he'll make in the NFL, but I just like him being a disruptor. Early on in the game, there was a play where he got past his tackle and he forced an errant throw by Kyler Moore. So I liked his pursuit in the game. Cleveland Ferrell also had one where actually Kyler got hurt, but eventually Kyler came back. So I like what I'm seeing from the defensive lineman. I don't know if Chase Young will be with the Niners next year, but I like what he's doing now. And I like him being a disruptor. I'm not expecting him to get, 4 sacks in a game or anything like that, but just make the quarterback difficult, make him throw before he wants to, keep an eye out on those screen passes, get your hand up at the line of scrimmage. Like that's what I'm expecting him to do. And he's hell of a talent, but those are basically the 2 guys that stood out to me, Cleveland Ferrell and Chase Young.
No doubt. And you got some standouts on the defensive side of the ball?
I already
did it.
Okay. Wait, then it's my turn. It's my turn. That's right. You went Nick Bosa, which was great because I wanted to touch on Nick Bosa as well. His impact was felt all over that field yesterday. He was outstanding. He had the sack, and then there was one where like him and Kinlaw, they gave Kinlaw the sack.
Yeah, they did.
But I thought Bosa was in on it too. I thought maybe they were gonna split that one. Same. What did you guys see on that?
I thought it was gonna be split, but like I
thought it was gonna be split.
The way I feel about it now is like Bosa already got a lot of sacks, man. Like let Kinlaw have that one.
You're right.
Let him get that one. Let him enjoy that one.
That's the NFL playing games with Bosa because they know how bad he wanted, man. They're like, okay, like.
And Kinlaw was getting pushed along that defensive line. I saw him a few plays knocking the guard back. Like, who wants to get Kinlaw next year on like a 1-year deal? I don't know, maybe. I mean, Armstead is getting up there in age. You got to have at least 5 or 6 defensive linemen. Hey, we'll see.
Yeah, I might just ride it out with Kinlaw this year.
Yeah.
And just take it and give me everything you got in that knee, but I still might be a little reluctant.
Hey, Bay Area baller, we might have to sign him now. His price tag, it could increase significantly, man.
He's
like, I just let him
my notes. He's on my notes. I wanted to talk about him.
It depends how much they love him in that locker room, man. It feels like from what I've seen that they love him in that locker room, and if that's the case, they're gonna hold on to guys that are like, Dante Johnson types, Jason Verrett types. If you're that certain 49er type of guy, that they're gonna hold on, they're gonna ride it out with you. So if he's that kind of guy to them, which I think he is, Kinlaw is gonna be here for a minute.
I wonder,
like those guys are kind of minimum level, like contract wise, right? Like Dante Johnson's not getting paid elsewhere. Kinlaw, on the other hand, he keeps. Some team might need a D tackle and might give him, $7-8 mil a year. Where the Niners,
we're not
be able to.
We'll be drafting another defensive tackle in the draft, but I wonder what's Kinlaw's secret because he struggled with staying healthy like the first 3 years of his career. So I wonder what did he change? Like, is it just luck? Is it just like he's not getting a lot of snaps? He's a reserve role.
He did lose weight, and the only other thing that I heard was Pilates.
I said it on the broadcast.
Yeah, Pilates and lost a little bit of weight, man. So
whatever works. Yeah.
Hey, little things, and then if you start eating a certain way, just really just taking it serious, it could change a lot. And like,
well, this is the perfect time for him to have a standout season. He's going to be a free agent next year. So, hey, I'm happy for whatever he gets, whether it's with the Niners or another squad. If he gets a Kendrick Bourne type deal, hey, take the money, man. Take it. It ain't forever. So,
yeah. So I'm glad we touched on Kinlaw because I had him on my notes. It's just being a game wrecker. He was absolutely pushing the pocket. We already talked about the sack. And then the other guy filling in was Kevin Givens.
Yep.
And you guys know I love me some Kevin Givens. I thought he was good. He sniffed out a screen, was able to shut it down immediately. So that's good awareness because there was some space there where if the running back got the ball, he might have been able to make a big play. But, Givens and Kinlaw, I thought they filled in admirably. I'll talk about Clea Davis here in just a minute. But yeah, and then defensively, Charvarius Ward, Kelts already spoke about him. But what I loved about that first pick on Mooney Ward, that interception was completely out of his area. Like that was not his responsibility to be covering the middle of the field, right? There were a couple of linebackers, who were kind of in position there. They were kind of closer to the line of scrimmage, but the tight end got in behind him, and Mooney sees it, and he jumps it where it was just a spectacular play because it was completely out of his zone. So to have that kind of vision, mindset, acceleration to make that play, that was outstanding. Then the second pick, ball's overthrown, but you still got to have the ball skills, pluck it off. So, Mooney Ward, I was giving him a hard time. It felt like it was during that 3-game losing streak. There was like 7 flags, over the 3 games where, we're talking about, hey, man, put some tape on his hands so he can't grab these guys. He's getting too handsy. Well, he's cleaned that up. He's coming down with interceptions. Charvarius Ward, there's not too many lockdown corners in the NFL. And Mooney Ward's putting together like a top 5 cornerback type of season. So shout out to Mooney.
Amazing turnaround. Amazing turnaround.
Even for Mooney, like that's another move that we got to give John and Kyle credit. Like I remember that offseason, everybody wanted J.C. Jackson. That was like the top cornerback, and everybody was like, the Niners need to sign J.C. Jackson. They need to get it done, and he ended up getting that huge contract from the Chargers. And you're like, damn, the Niners missed out. We still have Stephon Gilmore, and the Niners go on to start Charvarius Ward. You're like, who's this guy, right? And J.C. Jackson, obviously all Niners fans wanted J.C. Jackson. Instead, the Niners got Charvarius Ward. And Charvarius Ward has been a baller for the Niners, whereas J.C. Jackson literally got benched and cut from the Chargers. So, John and Kyle Shanahan, you just got to trust John and Kyle Shanahan. After what they've done, after, looking at their track record, you got to trust even a guy like Aaron Banks, right? We lost Laken Tomlinson. You're like, damn, the Niners, that might have been a mistake. Aaron Banks, he didn't even play the year before that. He was inactive for a whole bunch of games. Is Aaron Banks really that good? And then Aaron Banks comes out and he's playing at a Pro Bowl level, and you're like, you know what? We got to trust Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch because for the most part, they make really damn good decisions. Even a guy like Debo. You look at that draft class and you're like, you look at DK Metcalf, you look at A.J. Brown, and you're like, Debo Samuel, who's this guy? And then Debo Samuel comes on, he fits Kyle Shanahan's scheme perfectly, and on this Niners team, he's way more impactful than a DK Metcalf or A.J. Brown would have ever been the last couple of years, or even now. So, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, you just got to give them credit. Now, they do occasionally have their, hiccups, especially in the third round with, the C.J. Beathard, Ty Davis Price, and, Trey Sermons. But for the most part, the Niners, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they know how to wheel and deal. So, and the Niners, John Lynch, he knows how to, draft some guys, especially in the later rounds. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, for the most part, they've shown you they do a pretty darn good job at evaluating. So you just gotta trust the process. I mean, that's just one thing I've learned about, being a Niners fan, especially in the John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan era. As much as sometimes we question things as fans, we just gotta learn to trust their decision making. Because for the most part, it hasn't been a huge letdown when they do end up either deciding to keep a player, start a player, etc.
Yeah, they definitely got a vision for exactly the pieces they want. And then not only that, first you just got to even have a vision. They're not just drafting, oh, this guy's talented. Yes, we need that. They got a vision of specific roles, exactly how they want to attack it, what they want. And then on top of it, even when they do things that might not make sense, every time I went back to the Trey Lance trade, I feel like the Trey Lance trade, trading those picks allowed them to sign Mooney Ward. because the next year they didn't spend that money on that first round draft pick. It opened up extra money later on down the road to help. Not the exact reason on why they got Ward, but it helped get Ward. It helped get Hargraves, not having some of these first round, like they know what they're doing. Like it's not all what it seems like on the surface. Like logic is easy, but sometimes someone like Kyle, I know he ain't going off of regular logic. He's trying to make trends. He's trying to trailblaze. He's trying to be the first to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? The running back has kind of been dead and gone, and it's not no more. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, let me get a CMC. Watch what I do with this.
When everybody zigs, you zag. Right?
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Kyle's on it, man. And then what's even I know we're about to get on the Bob Purdy. Is that what's coming up next? Or is that
there's not too many step your game ups, which why don't we jump in?
Step your damn game up, Kalia Davis. This was your time. This was your time to shine, Kalia Davis. You've been waiting, bro. Did we get him last year in the draft? I just know we've been waiting. Yeah. He's been waiting to finally get on the field. I know it's not one game and you're done. We've seen Javon Kinlaw get pushed around quite a bit, and he keeps getting chances. But I personally, I'll speak for myself. I've been rooting for him, man. And it's like, come on, bro. You got to grab onto those moments. And I know it's just you're in the background, injuries. It's hard to just hop on the NFL field and dominate anybody, but to just at least hold your ground. It just wasn't the best of looks. And I got hope that he can get better. But Kalia Davis, step your damn game up.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of that because that was the one guy I was going to single out to. Kalia, I thought he was getting moved yesterday. And he wasn't the only reason the Cardinals ran for a whole bunch of yards, but he was one of them. I thought he was getting pushed around. And it's like a lot of teams could afford to be patient with Kalia Davis, not the Niners. Not on this Super Bowl ready roster. Like, I'm not sure. We talked about last week a couple of the veteran defensive tackles out there. I would want to kick the tires probably still on one of those guys, whether it's an Ndamukong Suh or an Akeem Hicks, because I don't think Kalia Davis is quite ready for this moment. Not a lot of negatives, in my opinion, coming out of yesterday's game, but Amin or Jay, why don't you chime in with who's got to step their game up?
Hey, I would mention, I think Khalil, I think he can be like not redshirted, but he kind of can be groomed for the position. I think the only reason he's in there is due to the injuries, the Armstead and Hargrave. So I think in spurts, he could probably play pretty well. But if he's playing 30, 40 snaps, he may get exposed, as we kind of saw yesterday. I gotta say, what's good to David McNiner? He said, how do you fellas feel when Purdy stayed down and when Bosa was down for a few? Like every Niner fan, a heart sank. Like definitely something you don't want to see.
First thought was, oh shit, not a concussion. That was just my first. Oh please!
My first thought was not again. My first thought was not again. Yeah. As a Niners fan,
and he got hit in the head and neck area too.
Yeah.
And I was concerned about a knee. Yeah. I thought there was like some contact, and once they showed the replay, I realized it's not the knee. But I thought initially there was like some kind of knee-to-knee contact, and
for Bosa?
I was worried about that. No, with Purdy.
Oh, for Purdy, okay.
With Purdy, he got hit in the face, but there was also some lower body contact, and
He said that wound up being a stinger to the shoulder, but maybe the neck jerking, kind of just sent a little, that pin, you kind of, all of a sudden your body turns into electricity and you kind of freeze up. Yeah.
Your knee bones connected to your hip bone.
Oh yeah.
Hey, another guy I think needs to step up is Ronnie Bell. I mean, last week he had the terrible special teams penalty when Mitch, had the play of his life. And then he nearly fumbles. I mean, as a punt returner, your number one job is ball security. I mean, we can't afford that type of play in the playoffs. So
no,
I need to see. And he's wearing number 10.
Oh no. All right. We're gonna rebuke this right now. We're gonna rebuke this.
So, hey, man,
Jay,
ball
don't
security is
speak
key.
Jay.
Ball security is key, man.
Oh man, I'm thinking man. I'm not even gonna put it in the air. Man. Dude, I just had a whole PTSD slideshow in my head of all the moments. Crabtree, Jaquaski Tart. Man,
I mean, that's the thing, man. When Jay says it, when he said it before the Cleveland game, he's like, I want the dog fight. We had 3 straight dog fights that ended up in L. So Jay, please. Like,
hey, it made us better. It made us a better team. Fred said, "Hey, we got ahead of ourselves after Dallas. We got ahead of ourselves."
I know, but I don't want that number 10 thing. Like Ronnie Bell fumbles a punt in the playoffs, and then we be a better team next year because of it. Like, nah, please.
Do you want any more adversity now, Jay? Or are you cool with just?
I'm cool, man. I'm cool. We in the number 1 seed. I think we got enough of our adversity. We learned from that, man. One game at a time. We good, man. No more adversity.
Let's get it.
Xavier has a question. He said, "Isn't Kalia injured now? Have you guys heard anything about that? I haven't heard about an injury to Kalia." Okay,
maybe not. I haven't heard anything.
I know Lenore. Our big fellas are supposed to be back. Hopefully, get those men in the middle of the trenches, and
because Armstead was missed big. He is so good against the run as a run defender. So
way underrated, I feel like.
Yeah, we definitely missed his presence out there. Like Hargrave, he's a really good pass rusher. I don't think Hargrave is that good against the run, in my opinion, but probably still better than the backups that were filling in for him. But
hey,
anything else?
Yeah, fellas. 37 minutes ago. 1 second. 37 minutes ago, it was reported that Kalia Davis, he's out with the high ankle sprain. So he's going to be out multiple weeks. So, hey, and Ndamukong Suh, Akeem Hicks, hey, Lynch, make the call, man, because we're definitely going to need some more defensive tackles. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I don't want to rush, especially now with the Niners being a game up. I don't want to rush Hargrave back with that hamstring. Hammies, they're easy to retweak, and you don't want any setbacks.
Might as well get a body in now. To just even get with the program. So
and they did bring in T.Y. McGill, and I know he was out there. I thought in the first half I was seeing a lot of Kalia Davis, obviously with Kevin Givens and Javon Kinlaw, but in the second half, it looked like they kind of, or maybe it was due to the ankle injury, because I thought I saw a lot less Kalia Davis in the second half and more like T.Y. McGill, which T.Y., I think, he's decent, he's solid, but I might want to make a call and just at least work out a guy, work out one of these veterans we've talked about. But hey, before we get to Bot Purdy, any other step your game ups, I'm out of step ups. No, it's okay. Let's get into Bot Purdy. I didn't come up with this nickname. I believe it's like Good Morning Football has been tossing around Bot Purdy for a while, but I like it personally because it makes a lot of sense, dude. When Brock Purdy is back there, he's like a robot. The way he sees the field, it feels like Brock Purdy knows where all 22 players on the field are at all times, which seems nearly impossible, but that's just the vibe you get from. So this is basically this segment, fellas. I want everyone just to go around, talk about Brock, and I'm going to start it off. I texted one of my buddies I call him my OG Niner fan. He's like either close to 70 or in his 70s. Shout out Ron the bowler.
Good God.
I said, Ron, what we're seeing from Brock Purdy, is this what it was like to watch Joe Montana? I straight up said it. And I know, people say, hey, don't use those two in the same sentence. I am, because I'm wondering, like, is this what it looked like to watch Joe Montana? And he said this is the closest that he's seen to Joe Montana in a Niners uniform, like, since. So, take that for what it's worth. So it's the closest to Joe. But fellas, I'm starting to wonder, man. Like, I don't want to crown him too early, and he still has work to do. There's still a task at hand, and that's winning a Super Bowl. But fellas, could we be looking at like the next great one? I'm already convinced this is the Niners quarterback for the next decade. But what are the chances? Like, he's a superstar, in the light of a Joe Montana. He's going to be in a tier for the years to come with the Patrick Mahomes. What are the chances of that, fellas?
I think it's really possible, man. I mean, it feels like the NFL is due for the next Drew Brees. You know what I'm saying? The NFL, it's like as soon as Drew Brees doesn't move in, Tom Brady doesn't move, the NFL is due for a quarterback like Brock Purdy. Not saying that's the reason why. I mean, you just said part of it. It feels like he knows where all 22 players are. And I've always said, like, look, he has good vision, this, that, and the other, but just looking at it like that, like, it's like I really envisioned when you said that. Like, if you know where all 22 players are, so maybe he's not looking at one thing at a time. Maybe he, like, can almost with his peripheral see everything. And then the second something is off, he knows where to go. Oh, this dude just did this. I know exactly. It just feels like he's ahead of the game. It feels like he's playing chess. He knows what's up. Sometimes he's looking at the first read and he already knows he's coming back to number 2 or 3 or roll out to go to 4. How many times do we hear the wide receivers or the playmakers say, man, I was the 4th guy on that read. I didn't even know the ball was coming my way. Man, I look up and it's right freaking in my breadbasket, like over and over. It's not like this was a game or two. It's not like it was lightning in a bottle. This is who he is. No quarterback's perfect. I've seen Pat Mahomes throw 3 interceptions. Tom Brady, every quarterback is going to go through the spurts. It wasn't just because Debo and Trent Williams was out in that 3-game skid. We had hella penalties. The defense wasn't playing good. It was a whole team thing. I get tired of hearing, well, look when Debo and Trent was out. Look, you know what? He played one bad game. 2 of those games were pretty damn good. He got a concussion. He threw some interceptions. Shit happens with the quarterback. But another thing is this man is leading the NFL in touchdowns. He's leading in almost every statistical category, second in yards, right? And he's doing all this with the 21st most attempts, or how do I say this? He's doing this and his passing attempts is 21st in the NFL. So it's like he's throwing the ball 100 times less than Dak Prescott. That's almost equivalent to 3 games. So 3 games less than Dak Prescott. I believe it's 140 less than Patrick Mahomes. Those are like 4 games. And he's second in yards, first in touchdowns, almost first in completion percentage.
That's insane.
Dude, I think he's 119 passer rating. I don't know what the record on passer rating is, but I bet he's in the top 5 in NFL history ever. Or I know I looked it up a while back. He's pretty, he's doing things, efficient wise. They have, I don't know what the efficient thing is. I've seen it on Twitter. I don't know what all the DVO things are, but I know when you're way up here and you're about to go, I mean, he's almost expanding the chart. Like you almost have to widen the chart for where Purdy is compared to everybody else and the shit isn't, it's like, how do I really break it down? Because it's people always want to go to what's around him. But he's still got to deliver. Jimmy didn't do this, and it's kind of hard. I don't like the arguments of what's around him or coulda, woulda, shouldas or this or that. It's like he's the quarterback. He can only control what he can control, and he's controlling it at the highest level. He's playing the best. He's the best quarterback in the league right now. I mean, the numbers speak for it. The tape speaks for it. And if people really turn on the tape and watch it multiple times, then it's easy to see. You know what I'm saying? What he's doing isn't average and it isn't normal. The throws he's making, the progressions, he's never missing the open guy. It's incredible, man, to the fullest. I could keep on going, but I'll stop there.
Hey, well said, Kelts. Definitely well said. I don't want to jump to to Joe Montana status yet. You know, I don't want to crown him yet. Like, rest in peace, Denny Green. I don't want to crown him just yet. But hey, he's having a hell of a start to his career. He shouldn't even be here. We're lucky to have Mr. Brock Purdy. Let's be real. But I want to mention another quarterback who played for the 49ers. Here are his stats: 113 touchdowns, 56 interceptions, 16,000 passing yards in 5 seasons in the red and gold. He also added over 1,000 rushing yards and 21 rushing touchdowns. Anyone know who that quarterback is? And he played with the Niners. Not Cap. Nope. Nope, not Kaepernick.
That's Alex Smith.
Not Alex Smith. Nope. It's Jeff Garcia. Yeah, so okay, so that's okay. I think Purdy is balling out, but I don't know. He hasn't reached the level of consistency that even a Jeff Garcia has done. And I know Jeff Garcia played on some bad teams in the 2000s. It was basically him, T.O. I think Garrison Hurst was there. I think Rice had just left.
Hey, let me push just real quick. But consistency, he hasn't even had that opportunity.
Fair. So you can't. So it's hard to compare the two. But you look at him statistically, Jeff Garcia has been really well. He didn't have the squad around him, and unfortunately, I'm going into that argument. But Jeff Garcia was really good, but he didn't have the squad around him on both sides of the ball. So before we crown Purdy, yeah.
Jack, I have a question though. I heard Garcia literally targeted T.O. like 20 times a game. Like he was
the best. He was the best receiver on the squad, a Hall of Fame player. I mean,
one thing T.O. would have said he didn't get the ball enough though. T.O. said he needed more targets.
Didn't T.O. call like Jeff Garcia gay or something?
Hey, let me ask y'all this: what would be the biggest?
He said we need Tim Rattay. T.O. wanted to bench Jeff Garcia for Tim Rattay.
Hey, because Garcia was a dog, right? Garcia was a dog, right? Like you just seen his effort and just he was a little different, but it was dope for the time that we did have him. What is the biggest difference to you guys from Jeff Garcia? Just watching them play on the field, just the way they go about their stuff. Jeff Garcia and Brock Purdy. Like, what would be the biggest difference, just if you could remember just the feeling or just watching? Because my biggest thing is just Garcia just seemed hella sporadic, even though it was a good sporadic, but then sometimes it wouldn't be a good Just there's some guys, like someone showed this like amazing throw by Matthew Stafford. And I'm looking at it like he just looked like he got hella sporadic and just flipped one out there. Like, when you've been doing this your whole entire life, I'm not no quarterback, but when I do go play football and if things are getting sticky, I know how to slang something out there. A baller does too. But the point I'm making is like, just Purdy seems that's the thing where people are like, bro, I haven't seen this since Joe Montana. There's a certain swag. And the way he is carrying himself at 23 years old, like on and off the field, there's something different with this Brock Purdy. And it's a good different. He could flip it on and flip it off. He could come through looking like he's about to be a model for Kohl's or Target, and then all of a sudden he's pointing at his veins like I'm about to go kill something today. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the great ones can do. They're the nicest dudes, and then they could hit that kill switch. And Garcia, to me, he just felt like it was just a little sporadic, but he was a dog,
And Garcia was a Pro Bowl quarterback on the Niners, I believe. Yeah. I don't think he was ever considered MVP though. That's a huge difference. He was never considered MVP, nothing like that. And he led the Niners to two playoff seasons.
He holds the record for most yards ever in a season, 4,200 and some change. So, Purdy's closing in on that record.
Yeah.
I know the NFL started to change when Garcia got there, started becoming more, pass happy and so, there's reasons for it. But hey, man, Garcia was not no slouch. A lot of people think he's the third best quarterback the 49ers ever had.
Right. If you
Or
take
fourth.
if you take Purdy's best 16 games versus Garcia's best 16 games, I mean, it's probably Purdy. But I'm not going to say he's the next thing to Joe Montana. Hell, I didn't see Joe play. I'm too young for that. So if you're a good friend, you know, hey, he's seen it all, and he says this is the closest thing to Joe. I gotta respect it. But what made Joe special is 4-0 in the Super Bowl. I mean, and Brock, obviously he hasn't played that amount of time. I just think we still got time for Brock to prove that. I think he's proven he can play and excel at this level. But you know, let's see what he does. Can he lead us to the Super Bowl? Let's see what he does. But there's no doubt he's having a hell of a year. MVP consideration. I know other fan bases don't want to hear that. They think it's just the weapons around him, but he still has to make the throws. He still has to read the defenses, and he's doing a hell of a job at that. And he plays, honestly, sometimes it seems like he plays his best when he's under pressure from the blitz. If you look statistically, if you look at it, he's number one in the league versus the blitz passing. So he's having a hell of a year, but I think Jeff Garcia played really well with us. Obviously,
3 Pro Bowls, I think.
I mean, that's pretty damn good. I mean, but you know, hey, I hope Brock takes us to the promised land, win the Super Bowl. I'm on board, but you know, I still think
it's the PAA, and it's easy for 40. It's not just Jimmy. It's like, man, we've been searching for that franchise guy.
It's been a while.
I mean, hey, let's be real. Since Steve Young, we thought we had it in Alex Smith.
Yep.
We were like, man, why the hell did we not get Aaron Rodgers? We thought we had it in Cap. Cap looked, it was Trent Dilfer was on ESPN talk about this is going to be the greatest quarterback ever played the game ever in Kaepernick, and he gave us those moments. You know, the one thing with Purdy though, it feels like it was moments with Kaepernick. It feels like we were kind of not, I don't want to say a bad team with Jeff Garcia, but it's like Jeff had to do so much during that time, and T.O. had to do so much to where their stats were through the roof, but there just wasn't that confidence. There wasn't that. This is just me personally. So I don't know. I just feel I've never felt this kind of stability. And to be honest, you guys, even with Steve Young is one of my all-time favorites. Jerry Rice, Steve Young. I mean, this is the 94 season, right? I mean, I got the book right up here, Steve and Rice, whatever. But even Steve Young, I'm always like, man, is he going to get another concussion? Damn, is he going to get another? I felt tense. I felt worried. And I just don't feel this is the only quarterback, in my lifetime where I haven't felt worried, man. And it's who knows if that's going to equal greatness. I hope it does. But yeah, it's just it's different. It's different, especially 23. Hopefully he can only get better. And hopefully with what it seems that he is, man, he feels like he's going to fall right in line with the CMC, Fred Warner, Brandon Ayuk, just those guys that want it more, that's going to work for it and go take it.
I mean, I want to get you in. I want to bring you in on this one. I want to hear you talk about Purdy. Just like what are your favorite attributes of Brock Purdy?
I mean, that's the thing, right? You look at when we had Trey Lance. You look at some of his attributes, right? Huge arm, athletic, big guy. You look at Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy isn't that big of a guy. He's a little bit on the smaller side. He doesn't have the strongest arm, right? He ain't throwing the ball 80 yards on the field, 75 yards on the field. But one thing that Brock Purdy has that even as a scout or like a draft guy that you can't really look at is his mind, his brain. The way that he's able to process things, he's an elite processor. And that's not something that you could, evaluate through the draft. That's not something that, things like arm strength or how mobile you are. The way that he processes things on the field, like that touchdown yesterday to CMC, like he's looking all sides. He looked to his right, he looked to his left, and they see CMC cutting in the end zone. Bang, hits him right there on the money. Like there's things that Brock Purdy does, just the processing, like the way that he processes things on the field, how quickly he processes things. If his first read isn't there, he looks to the second read isn't there, bang, he finds the guy open, third read, bang, touchdown. Or big play. The way that Purdy processes things is great.
And that's a skill too, that's a skill. It's like
that is a skill, right?
You can't some guys You can't learn that. It's like either you process quickly or you don't.
Yep. And that's honestly, and that's what makes. Go ahead, Kels.
Steve Young called it the force. It's like Steve Young's a Hall of Famer, bro. He knows anything you could want to know, and he can't even explain it. He's like, there's something, but I feel like that's a part of the process. And go ahead, the force.
Nah, but that's the thing, right? Like this whole NFL draft thing, it's always like, oh, who could throw the ball the farthest? It's always about intangibles. Right? It's always about intangibles. Where with Brock Purdy, like he ain't the biggest, he ain't the strongest, but the way that his mind works, the way that he's accurate, the way that he knows always where to go with the football, the way he doesn't make mistakes too much, like those things just make Brock Purdy elite, right? And like we say, he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, but like the thing about Brock Purdy is that there's this constant narrative even now. It's like no matter how well he's doing, and obviously I don't think he'll get his respect unless he goes out, unless the Niners win a Super Bowl, or unless he continues to rack up these performances. But this whole constant narrative of it's Kyle Shanahan, it's the team, it's Christian McCaffrey, it's the players that are around him. Let's look at the other two guys in the MVP conversation. You look at Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has CeeDee Lamb, he has Brandon Cooks, he has Michael Gallup, he has Tony Pollard, who's a Pro Bowl running back. You could argue that offensive line is better than the 49ers. You can make that argument, right? And he has a good defense. It's not like he has a crappy defense. And he has a pretty darn good defense. Some of you may even call it elite defense, right? Depending on what your term of elite, right? But I'm saying, like, you look at Dak Prescott, right? Yeah. But I'm saying, like, look at Dak Prescott. When Dak Prescott has a game against, like, the New York Jets and he throws for 4 touchdowns, everybody's like, oh, look at Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is cooking. And then he plays like a team like, last week against the Bills, and he's a no-show. And when Brock Purdy balls out against bad teams, you're like, oh, Christian McCaffrey did well also, Debo did well also. But when he's beating the Eagles and he's throwing for multiple touchdowns with no interceptions, nobody's out here talking about Brock Purdy balling out. But when Dak Prescott doesn't do well against good teams with a good football team, it's not like he doesn't have a good football team. You could argue he has a better offense than the 49, like better offensive players. Like there's a debate to be made. There's an argument to be made. So like when people talk about Dak Prescott having good games against bad teams, when Purdy does it, it's like, oh, but Kyle Shanahan had a great game plan, or Christian McCaffrey also had a good game, or Debo went off. I'm like, it's like there's like this double standard where when Brock Purdy does well, and when he does well, which he should when he has that good of a team, but when Dak Prescott does or does not, especially when he does, it's like most of the time he's not doing it against a team with a winning record or a good team. Most of the time he's cooking garbage teams, and when he's playing a good team with, when he's playing a good team with the offensive supporting cast that he has, he doesn't show up. But yet when he does have a good game, people are like, oh, Dak Prescott, MVP, such an elite quarterback. Even Jalen Hurts, for example, right? Like when nobody's out here talking about Jalen Hurts' performance today, 2 interceptions, or even Patrick Mahomes. Like I'm a huge Patrick Mahomes fan. But Patrick Mahomes had 2 interceptions against the Patriots. He has not had a good season this year. But when Patrick Mahomes struggles, it's like, oh, even if the Chiefs lose, it's like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is still great. When Brock Purdy goes out and does literally is seriously consistent every single week and balls out every single week, he never gets the credit. It's always like, oh, it's the offensive line, it's the coaching, it's Debo Samuel, it's George Kittle, it's the weapons. So like the double standard doesn't make sense at all, because if you're gonna hold one guy to that certain standard, like a Brock Purdy or like a Dak Prescott, you got to keep it same. And I don't feel like the national media does that. So, I mean, Brock Purdy, like, please start putting respect on this man's name. Like, he is not Jimmy Garoppolo. If you really watch this Niners team with Brock Purdy can put up a 30-piece on your head every single week. And it's not difficult. Like, it's easy for the Niners offense to put up 30 points a week. And even going into the playoffs, like, I'm not worried about this Niners offense. And I could confidently say right now, if the Niners had Brock Purdy in that 2019 Super Bowl, the Chiefs would not have won that Super Bowl, because what we lacked in that game, as much as there was a bunch of problems, the offense only put up 20 points. It was a 10-point deficit. As much as for the Chiefs, as much as the defense could have held on, like if the Niners had Brock Purdy, it would have probably been like 28, if not a 30-piece to like 10. The Niners offense would have been way more efficient and effective against that Chiefs team. So Brock Purdy, like, start putting respect on his name. Yes, he has a supporting cast, but, like, so does Dak Prescott, who's in the MVP conversation. So does Jalen Hurts, who's in the MVP conversation. Every team has a good supporting cast. Most guys have a good supporting cast that are in the MVP conversation. Yet Brock Purdy, for whatever reason, every single week has been more consistent than all of those guys. And he does it against good teams as well. Whereas, like, you look at Dak Prescott and even Jalen Hurts' good games, it's like against teams that you're like, oh, he balled out against, the New York Giants. That's great. Dak Prescott threw for 3 touchdowns against the New York Giants, where it's like Brock Purdy's doing that against teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, against teams like the Seattle Seahawks. Like, he's doing that against, good teams. So, like, the level of consistency from Brock Purdy is just, it's not even close. So, like, the double standard doesn't make sense.
It's because this wasn't supposed to happen. So people feel threatened. People feel threatened because it doesn't make sense. This wasn't supposed to happen. So because it doesn't make sense to them, and if they're not really watching tape or just really watching every 49er game, it doesn't make sense. So the sense that they make is the easy, oh, well, I heard over here, this guy, and this guy said it was Debo, it was McCaffrey, it was Shanahan, it was, so yeah, that's the truth, and that's all and people either feel threatened or it wasn't supposed to happen. Oh, it's going to die out eventually, or they don't want to be wrong. There's just, it's threatening, when something doesn't make sense. And you can't see it, it's like, how am I going to believe in something I can't see, because it wasn't supposed to happen this way. You feel me? So I think that's a large part of it, because of who he is, even just because of the clothes he wears or going on a farm. There might be a certain group that will never give him respect. I've watched quite a few, all 22 of Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, and I got to tell you, the more I watch Brock Purdy, the more I see those guys see one read and they're dipping out. I talked to someone on Twitter, I think it was Rich, the guy who be watching all the tape. Well, and he was telling me how Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen Lamar, they have to dip out because of it. It's like, no, bro, hey, I watch all 22 too. And you can see your truth. But what I'm seeing is these guys want to run around to try to make a massive play. And Purdy is just executing the system and managing it. And then he also can do what they do off script, but he's just playing the actual quarterback position, not backyard football, better than anybody I've seen. It goes right back to processing, bro. And then you match that with Kyle Shanahan, who's dialing it up, and you got a machine. Then you match that with a CMC, and then you got a superpower with a Debo and a Uke and a Kittle. And, it's awesome, man. It's not just one thing. It's all of them together. But Purdy is a part of those weapons. Purdy is equally a weapon, and that's why we're throwing up 45, 42, 42 on the elite Dallas defense, the elite Philly defense. We're throwing 42 up on them like, okay, watch this. It ain't Garoppolo no more. Or, we're not doing backyard football. We're going to get an interception here, interception there. It's a 27-24 dogfight of a game. We're mollywhopping folks, and that's the Purdy. That's the Bob Purdy, man. Hit it, baller.
Hey, I just want to add, Purdy, I think what separates him is his poise and his decision making, and that's illustrated in his stats versus the blitz, coming in versus Miami, playing better than the previous quarterback. And I think he's playing so good, Brock Purdy is, that they've changed the narrative on college quarterbacks. I say that to say, oh, now people will say, well, who's the next Brock Purdy? Who's the next guy that his attributes don't wow you? He doesn't have the biggest arm. He's not tall. He may have small hands, but he played all 4 years in college and he started majority of those games. Like, who's the next Brock Purdy? That's how good he's playing. And of course, he came from a small school, and guys have come from a small school before and performed well. Like, I think of Carson Wentz, but he had a cup of tea in the NFL, and he's no longer in the NFL. But Brock Purdy, I think, is here to stay, and that's what I enjoy watching from him is like the small things. It's if we have a lead in the game, it's the play clock goes down to 2-1, and he hikes the ball. It's telling his guys to get out of bounds, and that's something that CMC could have did better, but it didn't hurt us. But that's what separates Purdy for me, is his decision making. He rarely makes that no throw. He will make some throws where it could be in some coverage, but he allows his guy to make a play. And that's something that only the upper elite quarterbacks do. Allow your guy to make a play on the ball. That back shoulder throw to Debo, I mean, that was incredible. Incredible. He's not even open. He's not even close to open. Like the corner was right there.
Threw him open.
Yeah, like that's incredible to watch. And for people who don't want to see it, who don't believe it, I mean, I have people in my family that they don't watch every Niner game, but all they see are the CMC, the Debo, the IU, the Kittle, and that's what they think it's all about. But I think guys like that, Purdy is going to have to win a Super Bowl to gain their respect. But I think he's already gained respect in the locker room from his coaching staff and from other guys in the NFL, and that's all that matters.
And sometimes when you're smaller, you got to do those little things extra. You have to get any little advantage. It reminds me of Steph Curry. One of the major things I've seen Steph do that was different was, and it's these little things that could go a long way to get you that one step of advantage. I can't remember when I first started seeing it, but all of a sudden, like they would start taking the ball out as quick as you could possibly take. Like, I mean, he's like almost begging to the ref for trying, like, I mean, when the other team would score, he's like, all of a sudden they're already in position to where now they're backed up a little bit. One extra step, he makes a pass it back to him. All of a sudden he hits, he needs a little bit of space for a three. And you don't really notice it until you go back and watch the game. Like, damn, they're taking the ball out. Oh, okay, I see what they're doing there. They're taking that shit out. Even if it's just a half a second quicker, just not sleeping, because that's a half a second. You just score a basket. You're chilling. You know what I'm saying? It just, okay, you want to chill on a half a second? Boom, splash, three, Clay, three, and then the momentum builds. You know what I'm saying? And that's, it's the little things. It's the little things, the big things. It's Purdy's doing it all. The 49ers, it's hard to really put it into words because it's not just one thing. It's not just a Garcia or a Owens. It's the D, it's sideline Steve. I mean, it's Kinlaw stepping his game up. It's contagious when you get these kind of guys with this kind of spirit, with this kind of mentality. It's contagious, man. And it starts rubbing off on everybody. And that's something else too. That happened with Steph as well. It started that joy, the fire. It started rubbing off on everybody, bro. It just, there's certain guys who got that fire, bro. And
it's contagious.
God, I hope it's like you go to work. I don't know, if you guys got that one person at work where when that one guy's at work, it's like, oh, this day's just going to be way better. Like, oh man, oh yeah, we're gonna kill stuff at work today. Like, there's been certain jobs where there's just that one guy who could make the shift way better, way easier, way more efficient, and just that's what I'm seeing, man.
Facts, and to kind of put a bow on this Brock Purdy love fest before we get to this Niners Ravens preview, which we'll try to do a rapid fire on that. But what I love about Brock is that he's so good within the system, right? Like I'm talking, he's playing at like a Peyton Manning, Drew Brees type of level, like within the structure of the offense. But that's not all he gives you, fellas. He also gives you the stuff outside of structure. And we saw it a few times just yesterday where Brendel gave up an immediate pressure. Brendel was beat immediately at the line of scrimmage, and this was on the CMC wheel route. So Purdy's got immediate pressure in his face, right? What does he do? It's like it's an immediate innate reaction to swoop, spin out the pocket to buy some time. He rolls left. He knows exactly where he's going to go, or at least who's on that left side of the field. Spins left, locates Christian McCaffrey wide open. So it's like that play, that is a sack. Now, I don't for sure it's a sack with 10 back there, but it's a sack with 2/3 of the quarterbacks in the NFL, but not with Brock Purdy. He's so good within the structure. Then he gives you the plus plays outside of the structure. The play Purdy got nicked up on was also like an improv play. He had to kind of elude some pressure, step up in the pocket, but Juszczyk finished the block and kind of released off that block, and Purdy found him. There's Purdy is so good within the structure. I'm talking like a Peyton Manning level within the structure. And then he gives you 2 or 3 plays every game where the kid's a playmaker. So I'm so happy he is our quarterback. And I think that concludes. We could go on a Brock Purdy love fest all night, but we got to get to this Niners Ravens preview real quick.
One last thing.
Please.
It's just a funny thing that, like, you know, there's this saying that God does everything for a reason. You look at a couple of years ago, we told you that Brock Purdy, the 7th round draft pick for the 49ers, would not only start a couple of games for the 49ers, but would potentially be possibly that franchise guy and even be in the MVP conversation. Because the last time we heard a Niners quarterback, let alone a Niners player, be in the MVP conversation was Steve Young. Like, that's how. Or maybe Colin Kaepernick. I don't know. I don't remember like watching Colin Kaepernick in his prime years. Because when I first started watching Niner football, it was like Blaine Gabbert and Kaepernick were with that quarterback battle, and everybody wanted Kaepernick to play. But like having a guy, a 7th round pick, especially when we drafted Trey Lance, and Trey Lance ends up getting traded to Dallas. But like that just shows you, like, man, God does everything for a reason. And like it's crazy to think about if we talked about this just a couple of years ago, like if someone told me this a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, you crazy. Like, just stop it. But the fact that it is actually happening in front of my eyes, like, it's special to see.
It's still wild. It's almost like I got to pinch myself. Like, I could say it, and it's like it doesn't hit as hard, but hearing ballers say Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and that is what he's doing currently this season. It's not crowning him, but what he's doing right now, eye test, you know,
it looks like that.
That's
it looks
what
like
he's
that,
doing. He's doing that, and that just is almost absolutely mind blowing. And it's to Amin's point. You know, one of my favorite sayings is God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called. And you know, that's saying, hey, just because you're 6'4" and 220 pounds doesn't mean you're going to come on and you got the force. There's something. You know, the heart. You know, there's no limit on what you can. You could take all the color test and all the mind test, but when you're on that football field and the adrenaline is pumping, there's no way to gauge what someone has in their mind and their heart and their spirit and all that good stuff. And, you know, every scout had it wrong. Every scout. I mean, you know, all of us who were doing mock drafts, we knew we needed a backup quarterback. So I think majority of people that I've seen that made mock drafts had Brock Purdy on the last pick. It was almost like oh yeah, you have to put Brock Purdy on the last pick on this one. You know, I don't know if y'all seen it a lot, but I've seen a lot of last picks, Brock Purdy, you know, for a backup for Trey Lance. And, you know, none of us, you know, unless you were watching Iowa State football all the freaking time. I mean, there's probably a few guys out there been like, hey, he could be a 3rd rounder. He could be, you know, but no one knew. No one knew that this was coming. I mean, when we seen preseason games, hey, I'm glad I wasn't scared to say the first preseason game, I said, he's a gamer. The second preseason game, I seen a little something more versus the Vikings. I'm on with Benjamin Camperman. I was like, hey, man, this man looked like a young Russ Wilson. Hey, don't come at me crazy, because back at that time, it's like, oh, this fool Rich is delusional. I can't even watch him no more. Nah, I kind of wasn't, man. It's like it's easy to see, but the world will make it like, you better not say certain. Like, nah, man. If you see it, say it. Why not, man? Why the heck not, man? It's like crowning. Like, hell, I'm crowning the crap out of Brock Purdy this season. You know, I'll let tomorrow worry about itself. You feel me?
Facts. I want to hear what you guys are thinking about this Niners Ravens game coming up here. Christmas Day.
Oh man!
Whoa,
that's
new.
The Warriors.
Whoa, I'm gonna gotta go like dual.
Do the Lakers play? Lakers
dual
are doing
TV
good.
Action. Probably Lakers will.
Hey, y'all.
Jay probably.
Oh, y'all. Who won the in-season tournament?
That's the last tournament y'all gonna get for a minute.
Do we talk about the Lakers on this show?
Hell no. To the no. Yeah, to the no.
No, we don't.
But I didn't say it. You did. I just said who won the in-season tournament. You said the team's name.
There's a little. I feel like there's a little bit less on the line now. Hopefully, the Niners aren't looking at it this way, but it feels like there's just a little bit less on the line now. Niners got this 1-game cushion. Hopefully they're not looking at it that way, because you don't want to lose this advantage we have at this moment. But I think the Ravens are going to be an extremely tough test. I know they didn't play that well last night, watching that Ravens and Jaguars game, but Lamar Jackson's special, guys, and he's one of the most elite ball carriers, weapon with the ball in his hands there is in the league. It's like Tyreek Hill, Debo, Lamar Jackson, regardless of position. So Lamar's a player that, like, when he has his A game, when he's on, the Ravens win. So you're going to have to make it tough on Lamar, keep him in the pocket, right? Easier said than done, obviously. Like, the Niners, for the most part, I thought they did pretty good with Kyler yesterday. He did kind of squirt out a couple times, one time down in near the red zone. And, he got a couple first downs with his legs. But for the most part, I thought they kind of keep them contained. So they'll have to corral Lamar Jackson, or at least attempt to. And then that Ravens defense is really good, guys. The Ravens D is really good. The Niners got the best linebacker core in the NFL. If you had to ask me, hey, who's the second best linebacker core, I might just say Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen. And, Jadeveon Clowney's there, Kyle Hamilton, a safety, Marlon Humphrey. Like, there's a lot of talent on this team. So it's going to be a good test. Ravens are up at the top of the AFC for a reason. They're really freaking good. They're coming to Levi's. So it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be kind of a measuring stick kind of game. And the Niners, they're going to have to contain Lamar. If Lamar goes off, then it's going to be tough to get a win.
Man, I'm excited about this one, man. Most of the games we had circled was Dallas, Eagles, Bengals, and the Ravens for sure in the beginning of the year. And I'm glad it's come to this point where Lamar's in the MVP discussion, or arguably, and Purdy, and the Ravens are basically the best over there. We are over here. So, I haven't given a team a high score prediction, and I still feel like we can handle this. Like, I feel hella confident about this, but I think the score, my prediction is 31-24, but I think we're going to win even more than that. I think they get a late touchdown kind of, and then not taken away from them. I just feel like we're rolling. It's not anything that they are or aren't. I just feel like when you get a team that's rolling, you're going to just do damage, man. And I don't think we're going to have any more hiccups. Not saying we're going to just mollywop every team. I mean, 31-24, that's a touchdown right there. But Lamar, he ain't no joke. Their D, like you said, Baller, is really good. I was looking at some of their statistics and some of their season stats, and, they're up there. They're up there on defense for sure. And offense is pretty good as well. We obviously probably got more weapons. They might have, in Lamar Jackson, the best weapon. You know what I'm saying? I think Keaton Mitchell went down, which, that's a guy who I wanted to draft. I was always – y'all see me talking about Keaton Mitchell, and who was the other running back? I sent you a video of
he was
Keaton
like, hey,
Mitchell.
man, I want that speed at running back. Check out Keaton Mitchell.
Keaton Mitchell and David Akane. Those were the only two dudes where I shot you videos on those two guys, and sure enough, those two. I mean, Akane, if he didn't get hurt, he was lighting it up in Miami. You know what I'm saying? So
and Mitchell, really, it's too bad for Mitchell, because he was looking. I was talking about the Ravens running back Keaton Mitchell. He had kind of became their main run. They use a multi-back philosophy.
He went undrafted too.
Yeah, that made no sense.
I couldn't believe that.
Mitchell was looking really good this year, and actually, the injury kind of looked bad. I don't know if you guys saw the injury yesterday, but it didn't. It was unfortunate. Hopefully, he'll have a speedy recovery. But Niners, I don't think they have to worry about facing Keaton Mitchell here this week.
Yeah, I think we're going to make Lamar look not as good. I don't know. I just feel like whenever we face a team that is really, really good, they look really, really good, and then they face the Niners. That's just how I feel right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, Man, hey, last week I wasn't playing when I was like, bro, I think we could get 49. Like it just when you have a team just rolling, I didn't expect them to get 29. I think I said 49-10, but yeah, I could see this one being closer in the score, but I don't think it's going to be as close as the score shows. I think we're going to already have like, I think at some point it could be 28-10, and then they got to play catch up and then they kind of, make the score closer at the end. Maybe Darnold comes in, we get another field goal, 31-24. That's how I see it playing out. But yeah, man, if Purdy plays well, man, he could kind of solidify the MVP if he does really well, and we don't make Lamar look so good and other QBs, look mediocre. There's also that little part into it, but of course, we need to win. Hey, let's get one penalty like we did versus the Cardinals. We're going to probably get Hargraves and Armstead back, so we're not going to, maybe we'll come with the similar game plan like versus the Eagles where we just contain them and just, bend, don't break. You're not going to – it's like Shaquille O'Neal. You ain't going to stop him, but contain him. He's going to get his 30. He's going to get his, but just contain it. Don't let him, throw 50-yard bombs or scramble for 30 here and 15 there. And, just we'll come with a good game plan. I'm confident in it. So exciting, though. Christmas, man. I can't freaking wait.
Fellas, man, the NFL schedule makers, they know what they're doing. Ooh. You have the best team in the NFC going up against the best team in the AFC. Two great defenses. Kels alluded to it earlier. You look at total yards allowed, passing yards allowed, rushing yards allowed, points scored against, like, the Ravens or Niners are like neck and neck in all of those categories. You mentioned earlier, about Queen and Roquan Smith at the middle linebacker spot. No doubt they're definitely, I would say, top 3 in best linebacker tandems in the NFL. There's no doubt about that. They also have the Ravens, Justin Matabuke. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, he's been balling.
He leads the Ravens with 12 sacks, and the Ravens run a 3-4. He plays the end position. So that's going to be an interesting matchup because he's playing really well. They still got old Wiley, Jadeveon Clowney. He's still out there. So it's going to be a hell of a game. The Ravens come into this game with the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL. They average 163 yards per game, which is incredible. They lost Mitchell, as Kelt said, but they still have Gus Bus. They still have Justice Hills, who are pretty good. And then, of course, you got the wild card, which is Lamar, and he could take it to the house, anytime he tucks it and runs. So, of course, you got to contain him. It's easier said than done. But I think we got to guard. Can we guard Isaiah Likely? I mean, he's getting targeted a lot by Lamar Jackson. We gave up 10 catches to Trey McBride. I think he could be a problem. And I think they got Zay Flowers, who is a speedster. He could present some problems to the secondary, but I think the way you beat the Ravens is you got to slow down the run and then make Lamar beat you with his arm. But that's going to be very difficult to do. But I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, honestly, fellas. Like, I think I'm looking at like a 21-19 type game because both defenses are obviously excellent. I'm looking at a low-scoring game. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth. I think it could be a lot of punts in this game. Field position will be key. And, hey, if we only have one penalty in this game, it'll go a long way. We'll be putting our best foot forward if we only have one penalty in this game. But I'm expecting a low-scoring game, honestly.
I'm going between you guys with my score predictions. I didn't drop it earlier. I think it's going to be a tight one. I'm going 27-24. Maybe some late Jake Moody action to kind of help us get through that Christmas day. But Kelts, what you thinking?
Yeah, you basically just traded a touchdown for a field goal in the way our offense is rolling. But then I gotta, consider their D, but what is the competition? Their D is really that's what I'm kind of putting the factor in. It's like, man, teams look really, really good. You know, Dallas was straight balling, and then they seen the 49ers. The Eagles wasn't necessarily balling, but they were making sure to win every game, and then they seen the night. I don't know. I feel prime time, Christmas, at home. Man, I'm almost convincing myself to be like, bro, we might see 49. We might, hey, this train might not stop, man. I know it sounds wild, but it's like they've almost given me reason. You know, I simmered it down to the 31-24, but it wouldn't surprise me if we do something bigger, bro. But I'm gonna call it that for, you know, just more respect for the Ravens.
When you look at the Ravens schedule, they haven't. I mean, they've blown out a few teams. They blown out Cleveland. They blew out Detroit. They blew out Seattle. They blew out Cincinnati. I mean, their signature win. I mean,
they have
Houston, Cincinnati. I mean, they haven't.
And those are division games.
Those are division games. Yeah,
division.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, it's kind of that's like us facing the Seahawks. You know, it's like
they haven't beaten. I'm trying to look at their schedule. I don't think outside of their division. I think what is Houston? They could make the playoffs this year. Indy, I think, is still in there. They could make the playoffs. They actually lost to Indy in overtime, but that was in week 3.
Lions are a weird team. The Lions are a weird team.
They are.
They look like they're the best team ever, and then all of a
sudden,
1 week and
then
they're garbage to the who was it? The Bears? Didn't they lose to the Bears?
Yeah,
they've had a couple of bad losses, but.
I guess the best team they beat was Detroit. I think Detroit and Cincinnati are probably the 2 best teams they beat. So,
hey, they're going to face a real one, bro, and I don't think it's going to be. I think this is the season where the 49ers show other good teams that they just ain't as good as the Niners. And I don't think they're going to break. You know, the Ravens like we did. That's what it feels like, man. And last year we would play a team and they would didn't they lose? Like every team we faced lost the next week. I mean, you know, I heard Pat McAfee and Fred Warner was on Pat McAfee today, and he was talking about that. They were talking about just the mentality of the team and just the violence and just the next week. I think we're kind of continuing that trend this year a little bit. I don't know if it's as good as last year, but we're punishing teams. You know, Fred said, hey, you know, we want to not hurt teams, but we want to, you know, kind of like the Jimmy Ward last year. I'm going to make you feel me. Like you know, we want to put everything into it, exhaust them at all phases. You know what I'm saying? So, I think Baltimore's going to face a real one, and it could get ugly, but for Christmas' sake, it might be a show. It might be a show.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to mention the Ravens did beat the Jags. They beat them by more than double digits, but we also beat them by double digits. So maybe it's true. Maybe it's the record, or maybe it's the schedule. The Ravens haven't really played, you know, the upper echelon teams yet. So hey, we'll see what happens on Christmas Day. I can't wait. It's gonna be a hell of a game.
Oh yeah,
no doubt. Looking forward to it, and I'll keep a close eye on Lamar because I do like just how gifted Lamar is just as an athlete. Yeah. So it'll be fun to watch. Hey, fellas, you know, appreciate you guys coming on, and we do this every Monday. For those of you watching, the chat was live. Appreciate all you guys in the chat. Make sure you hit that like on the way out. Why don't we kick it around? You know, give some final thoughts, whatever you want to share about your channels you got going on. And we'll get up out of here. Celts.
Yeah, man. Hey, every Monday night at 8, Straight Out of the Bay, we rotate channels on who's hosting and all that. So, man, it's just that's what I'm doing right now. You know, one day I might lock in and give it a full go, but you know, I'm just enjoying the Christmas season, man, with the fam and stuff. It's always hella cool to hop on with you guys and get it all out of my system. It's been a hell of a ride so far. I think we're going to keep it going. Faithful, you know, why not be excited every moment of the ride? Because not even going to say it. When we win the Super Bowl, it's going to make it even sweeter. Like, damn, man, I enjoyed that whole entire time. I was going to say if we won it, I'm gonna just keep saying that because I ain't even speaking it. But nah, man, good stuff for hitting us up. All the faithful, we appreciate it. Real talk. Merry Christmas. Bang bang Niner gang.
Bang bang. Hey, huge shout out to the chat. Everyone that's in here. Hopefully you hit that like button. We appreciate everyone tuning in. But like Kel said, it's been an incredible ride. Got a few more games to go in the regular season. And hey, looking forward to that long playoff run. But hell of a game. Christmas night against the Ravens. Can't wait. And looking forward. Hey, we'll be going live right after the game next Monday night. So can't wait. Can't wait for that.
No doubt. Hey, fellas, great show. Talk soon. Chat. Appreciate y'all. Catch y'all.